بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طلبة المرحلة الثانية كلية الطب. Our lecture today about the brain. The brain, as we know, is part of central nervous system that lies inside the cranial cavity. It's continuous with the spinal cord through the foramen magnum. Continuation of medulla oblongata below the foramen magnum as spinal cord. Now the major portions of the brain. Major portion include the cerebrum, the largest area. This is the cerebrum, extended from the frontal or anterior cranial cavity, middle cranial and posterior cranial fossa above the tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli, fibrous membrane that separated the cerebrum from the cerebellum. The other part, the cerebellum, and addition brainstem. Brainstem composed from the diencephalon, midbrain, bones, and medulla oblongata. Snail right, the brainstem composed from the midbrain, bones, and medulla oblongata. Now, this is the area of the midbrain. Another classification of the brain classified as forebrain, composed from the cerebrum and diencephalon. Diencephalon, the area of thalamus and the hypothalamus, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Hindbrain composed from the cerebellum, bones, and medulla oblongata. So, the brain classified as forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, or classified as cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Brainstem composed from the diencephalon, or with the snail composed from the bones, midbrain, bones, and medulla oblongata. Now the cerebrum. The cerebrum is largest part of the brain. Consists from the two hemispheres, right and left, separated by longitudinal fissure. Each hemisphere attached to each other by part of the white matter named the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is white matter connected the both hemispheres, right and left. The outer surface of the cerebrum, gray matter or the cortex, thrown in the folded area named the gyri. This is the gyri folded area, or gyrus single one, and sulci or the single sulcus area, and this irregulation for the increase the surface area of the brain. The deepest sulcus divided the brain or the cerebrum into different loop, and the name of the loop taken from the adjacent the name of the bones. The central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus, we have the frontal lobe, behind the parietal lobe, and below the parieto-occipital sulcus, we have the occipital lobe. Below the lateral sulcus, this is the lateral sulcus, we have the temporal lobe and temporal region. So, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital, and the temporal lobe in middle cranial fossa. Now the layers or parts of the cerebrum. The cerebrum composed from the outer part. This is the outer part, gray matter or cortex. Below it, the white matter, nerve fiber. And inside the white matter, we have masses of islands of the gray matter named the basal ganglia. In addition, the other part of the cerebrum is the both lateral ventricles. So, the parts of the cerebrum composed from gray matter, white matter, basal ganglia, in addition, the two ventricles named the lateral ventricles. Now, the maps of the cortex. The area in front of the central sulcus, motor area. Behind the central sulcus is the sensory area. Above the lateral sulcus, we have the motor speech area named the Broca's area, and below the lateral sulcus and temporal lobe, we have the auditory area, and in the occipital lobe, we have the visual area, and extended medially to the area of calcarean sulcus. The motor and speech area, represent in inverted direction. That means the area responsible for the feet, trunk, shoulder, located in superior part of the cerebrum, and the area responsible for the upper part of the body, such as the face, lip, tongue, present in the lower part. And each hemisphere responsible for the other side of the body. That means the motor area in the left cerebrum responsible for the right part of the body, and in the right responsible for the left side of the body. This slide shows the lower part of the motor area. For example, lower part of the cerebrum responsible for the face, tongue, and larynx, trachea, and the superior part responsible for the trunks and the foot. This is the area of calcarine sulcus, the visual area. Now the white matter. The white matter composed of myelinated nerve fiber of different diameter supported by neuroglia. The nerve fiber classify into three groups according to their connection: commissural fibers, association fiber, and projection fiber. The commissural fiber connected different area in both hemispheres, either homologous or non-homologous area. Associated fiber connected different area in the same hemisphere, and the projection fiber connected the cortex of the brain with the other part of the brain, such as the bones, medulla oblongata, and the crossing of the fiber named the decussation of the pyramid. Now, the commissure fiber composed from the face part composed from the corpus callosum, the second part anterior commissure, posterior commissure, pharynx, and the habenular commissure. Now the corpus callosum in each hemisphere connected the both hemisphere of the cerebrum, composed from the body. This is the body, genu, this is the rostrum area, and splena. Now, the anterior commissure, this is the anterior commissure area, or connected the both hemisphere in the area of lamina terminalis, and the posterior commissure, and this slide show the posterior commissure at the superior part of the opening or canal that connected the third ventricles with the fourth ventricle, named the cerebral aqueduct. In addition, the other part of the commissure fiber is the habenular body, located at the root of the binal body. The final part is the pharynx. Pharynx is connected the hippocampus to the mammillary body, composed from myelinated nerve fiber constituted of the efferent system. This slide shows this is commissure fibers, and this is the projection fiber, connected both hemisphere. The fiber connected both hemisphere. This is the commissural fiber, and this is the projection, and the connected different area in the same hemisphere, named the association fiber. The third part of the cerebrum is the cavity, named the lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle communicated to the third ventricles. This is the lateral ventricles, composed from the body, located with the parietal lobes of the brain. Anterior horn located with the frontal lobe of the brain. Posterior horn in the occipital lobe, and the inferior horn in the temporal lobe. The lateral ventricles is the main secretion of cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid transported from the lateral to the third ventricle through foramen named the interventricular foramen, and from the third ventricle to the fourth ventricles through the cerebral aqueduct. Now the body of the body within the parietal, as we said, interior horn in the frontal lobe, posterior in occipital, and inferior in the temporal lobe. The body has the roof and lateral wall formed by the corpus callosum, part of the commissure fiber of the white matter. The floor by the body of the caudate nucleus and thalamus, caudate nucleus and basal ganglia, part of basal ganglia, and the medial wall formed by the septum lucidum. Vertical layers separated or represent the medial boundary of the third ventricles. This slide shows the cavity, the lateral ventricle, located within the cerebrum or hemisphere of the cerebrum. Now the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia, as a definition, collection masses of the gray matter situated with the east cerebral hemisphere. They are the corpus striatum, composed from the caudate nucleus, a lentiform nucleus, amygdaloid nucleus located in the temporal bone, and claustrum located more laterally near the cortex of each hemisphere and inferior surface. This is the definition of the basal ganglia: masses of the gray matter located deeply inside the white matter near the inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere, caudate, lentiform, amygdaloid, and the claustrum. Now the functions of the basal ganglia: the function control of the voluntary motor activity, control of the reflex muscular activity, control of the muscle tone, and role in arousal mechanism. Arousal mechanism means the emotion and the memory. Most commonly this function related to the amygdaloid nucleus, and the three function related to caudate and lentiform nucleus. Now the caudate nucleus is large C-shaped masses of the gray matter. Lentiform is wedge-shaped mass of the gray matter, and the amygdaloid is situated in the temporal lobe close to the uncus. Amygdaloid considered as part of the limbic system. This slide shows the basal ganglia, the C-shape, the caudate, this is the head, the body, and the tail attached to the amygdaloid. And this is the lentiform nucleus. Lentiform composed from the two parts: medially the globus pallidus, and laterally the putamen. And this is the amygdaloid. In cross section, now the claustrum is thin sheet of the gray matter, which is separated from the lateral surface of the lentiform nucleus by external capsule. The cross section of the brain shows this area of the basal ganglia, and this is the thalamus. Thalamus located more medially, close to the third ventricles, and this is the head of the caudate nucleus. The wedge shape, this is the lentiform. Medially globus pallidus, and laterally the putamen. The lentiform separated from the caudate and the hypothalamus and the thalamus by the internal capsule, and the lentiform separated from the claustrum by the external capsule. Claustrum till now is in noun function, till now under the investigation. So the function of the basal ganglia minorly responsible for the extra pyramidal movement. And finally, thank you.